President Biden set to sign that executive order setting a goal that by the year 2030, half of all cars sold in the U.S. would be hybrid or electric. White House correspondent Mary Alice Parks joining me now to talk about this. All right, so Mary Alice, what exactly does this executive order do? And really, does it carry any weight, or is this just the Biden administration talking about this goal that it set?
Kira, I think you're exactly right. The executive order is really a value statement. It is the White House standing by American auto manufacturers and saying this is the American goal, to try to have half of all vehicles, like you said, zero emissions by 2030. I mean, that would be remarkable. And we've seen this push from the White House since day one. We've heard this president talking about wanting to invest in electric vehicles and electric vehicle infrastructure. It was a big part of his jobs plan, and he made a point of making sure there was money in the bipartisan infrastructure deal for electric vehicle infrastructure as well. So we're expected to see the White House and the big car manufacturers standing hand in hand with this big, ambitious goal. But like you said, there's not necessarily a lot of teeth on that executive order. There is, however, a place where the federal government can really lay down the law, quite literally. And that's when it comes to the fuel economy standard. So that's different than saying how many vehicles should just be electric vehicles. That's saying, you know, that sort of number when you buy a car, miles per gallon, that's set by the federal government, what the standards will be. We've had this fuel economy standard really yo-yo back and forth between the Obama administration and the Trump administration, and we're expecting that the Biden White House is really going to set high benchmarks for that fuel economy standard as well.
Yeah, it's all part of the White House strategy to fight global warming. I mean, climate change was a big issue for the candidate, Joe Biden, during his campaign. So what do you think? How's he doing?
You know, he has these big, lofty goals. Across the country, he wants a United States that is carbon neutral. So not just cars and electric vehicles, but carbon neutral in the country by 2050. Now, transportation is the biggest source of American pollution. So it makes sense that the White House is really focused on things like fuel economy standards and promoting electric vehicles if it wants to hit those big national goals. But if you talk to climate experts, they say it's not moving fast enough. You know, they were really disappointed that so much of the money that was slated in his infrastructure package to work on climate change got reduced in the bipartisan agreement. I mean, some of these numbers are pretty extreme. For example, the Biden administration wanted over $300 billion in clean energy tax credits. That got completely zeroed out in the bipartisan infrastructure deal. He wanted $150 billion to be invested in these electric vehicles, sort of infrastructures and R&D. That got brought down to about $15 billion. Nowhere near what they were hoping for. I think that right now, climate activists are still really hoping some of that money ends up in the Democrats' reconciliation bill. But I think that there's a lot of frustration among climate activists that it seems that the climate provisions were what got scrapped from that infrastructure deal.
Yeah, they want stronger emission standards for sure. All right, on another note, just about 25 minutes ago, Attorney General Merrick Garland announced a civil rights investigation into the city of Phoenix and also its police department. The probe is going to determine whether the Phoenix police used excessive force, engaged in discriminatory policing practices, violated the First Amendment by retaliating against protesters, and also the Attorney General mentioning discrimination against people with disabilities. He laid this all out there at the DOJ within this hour. So this is the third such investigation that the AG has launched following similar probes, as you know, in Minneapolis and Louisville. What does it tell you about how the Department of Justice is spearheading the administration's agenda when it comes to police reform? Something that we saw was a much needed thing after the death of George Floyd. It's sort of been this domino effect now across the country.
Yeah, I think it tells me that the administration is tired of waiting for Congress. We've heard this White House say that they want them to pass a federal policing bill. They've talked in support of the George Floyd Policing Act, and we just haven't seen movement. We've seen a lot of discussion, but we haven't seen something get over the finish line there on Capitol Hill. And so the administration is looking for what it can do on its own. This is the Department of Justice trying to take matters into its own hands and investigate individual police departments. It also gets at the president's talking point. You know, he talks often about how the majority of police officers are trying to do the right thing, but that police departments or specific units that are having a hard time, that needs to be where the focus is. And I think this kind of move is the Justice Department saying exactly that, saying we need to be behind law enforcement, we need to be supporting men and women in uniform, but we also need to be looking at where the problem areas are.
Indeed. All right. The White House also firing back at Florida Governor Ron DeSantis after he referred to the president as a power-hungry tyrant. Can you tell us what that's all about?
Yeah, the White House is making it very clear that they are frustrated with Florida and with Texas and with these states that are really driving so much of the COVID outbreak that we are seeing. You know, we heard the president use really stark language this week where he said, if you're not going to be a part of the solution, then at least get out of the way. He is frustrated that some of these governors are making a point of outlawing mask mandates in schools. That is something that the administration knows other school districts are really wrestling with right now. They want to keep children safe, children who are not yet eligible for the vaccines. And so we're seeing this war of words right now between the Florida governor and the White House. And you know, Jen Psaki, the press secretary, responded today. She said, this is deadly serious. It is not a matter of political name calling. She said that right now, Florida needs to take responsibility for the fact that it is dramatically driving up the national COVID numbers.
All right, White House correspondent Mary Alice Parks. Thanks so much, Mary Alice. And again, we are waiting for President Biden to step up to the South Lawn there at the White House to sign that executive order aiming for half of new vehicles to be electric by 2030.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.